All right. Hi, it's Meryl Key, and this is my mystery school. And today I'm with the gorgeous, talented Katrina Rowland, and we're going to have a look at Pluto in Aquarius. Katrina, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
So it's a big deal that Pluto has moved into Aquarius. The sort of thing we can expect with that is freedom, revolution, paradigm shift. It's a shift from the most solid kind of earth, structural, authority-driven, grounded conservatism to Aquarius, which is about community, reaching out, invention, innovation. It's a totally different area, energy, taking us from the earth up into the air, up into the future. And the last time this happened was the late 1700s. So if we look at what was going on when Pluto was last in Aquarius, we can get an idea about what might be going on this time. And also this time, Pluto's going to be in Aquarius until 2043. So we've got a 20-year cycle here. We've got a whole generation. So last time, 1778 to 1798, and that was the British Industrial Revolution. So new factories, all the cottage industries, all the craft industries that were based in someone's home or based in the village or based at the blacksmith's shop, all of that was wiped out with new technology. And of course, transport, because steamboats became the mode of operation. And very quickly, that became the steam engine, the steam train. So it totally changed the map of the world and trade routes. Other things that went on in that 1778 to 1798 thing, of course, Captain Cook and his crew had landed in Australia and claimed it as British territory, which was the beginning of the Indigenous Peoples' Frontier Wars and their land and culture being taken from them. The other things that happened 1778 to 1798, the American War of Independence, the Declaration of Independence. In France, there was the three French revolutions, including Marie Antoinette having her head cut off and the Declaration of the Rights of Man. China expanded to its biggest dynasty ever. The rise of Napoleon. Napoleon became an out-and-out war machine. Also, one of the amazing things that happens, there was a Haitian slave revolution, and it's one of the most successful revolutions of slaves or these oppressed people rising up against the landowners and the slave owners. So that was 1791 to 1801. You can see this theme of equality, revolution, independence. Okay, tons more has gone on. Katrina.
I think that, like, listening to what you're saying about the Haitian, the slavery uprising, and then looking at the Napoleon, where we've got one side of it is we've got people truly repressed, truly who don't have status, who have, in a way, they're kind of righteous way of putting themselves out there. And then you have the Napoleon, who is really all about its ego and what it does for him and putting himself out there, but really nothing there for anyone else.
And that question of freedom, which is written into the American Constitution. But the question of freedom now is like, what is freedom? Is it freedom if it's oppressing someone else? The freedoms brought in during the last revolution, like industry, freed people up, but at the same time it enslaved them.
So what have we got on next? We're going to have a look at what does this mean, this Pluto and Aquarius, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to draw some cards and have a look first of what are the positive things, like what sort of things might be developing. Then we look at what might be a bit dangerous, where we have to watch, where there are concerns.
Yeah.
And then Katrina's going to take over and do some awesome stuff with the pendulum, looking at world events and what hotspots, what developing spots all over the world. Oh, all right. So, I'm just going to draw 9 cards. The question is, what areas may be growing and developing? Where are the areas of growth and development over the next 20 years?
You can see mine, right? I think you can see mine.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm just going to do 3 at a time, I think, so I can fit it all in.
Oh, first look at the devil. Oh my God.
Yeah, I got the Magician first, which I think is so apt for Aquarius.
Mm. Mm. Oh, just for the cards. This one is actually the 9 of Cups. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I've just done 6, and I'm going to do the other 3 and I'll fit them into the camera. But the first one I've got is the Magician. And the Magician is kind of what we were talking about, was this AI technology. I think there's going to be a lot of, I would include medical in this as well. There's a lot of talk in overseas about this CRISPR technology, about working with genes, and particularly all the stuff coming up around cancer treatments and solving that big issue of cancer. So I think that the Magician is really about what is that technology. And the thing with Magician is sometimes you have the question of not just can we do it, it's should we do it. So yeah, we've got the Knight of Pentacles, which is around not just, you could look at it as grounding it, but I also think it's around what kind of money, because Knight's an action card. So we're looking at what kind of money can go into that kind of technology. I think there's going to be a lot of investment, and it still doesn't answer the kind of moralistic or ethical question of can we do it? But then we have the Queen of Cups, which is around that emotion, around what does it bring to us? How does that make us feel? Is it something that makes us feel good? Is it something that doesn't make us feel great? And with this Queen of Cups in the spellcaster, the top is, she's got a hand over the cup. So I think there's still a lot of emotions that are going to come out around the technology that's going to come out to do with Pluto and Aquarius. So that's my hit on that first line, is the technology is really going to change a lot of it, and we're going to be catching up in how we feel about it.
Hey, Katrina, could you just slide them down a bit more towards your edge of the table?
Yeah.
Perfect.
That work?
Yeah.
So what are yours saying? How would you interpret yours?
Okay, so the central card that I've got is the 8 of Pentacles. I'll put my cards down, actually. Okay. Is the 8 of Pentacles. So my central energy here is the way it changes daily work. Who becomes an expert? And as we were just saying, like previously Pluto in Capricorn was, in Aquarius. Like you said, Katrina, it was the rise of unions and guilds. It was when workers needed rights because they hadn't really banded together as a group. Yeah. So my key card here is the change that's going to come to daily work. And that daily work is no longer going to be this kind of direct interaction. Pluto's more remote. It's more disparate. It's more splintered. And instead of just clocking up your career the way you used to do by clocking up the years and the different services, it's just not going to be like that anymore. First card we pull out was the Devil. So it's the danger of being chained and the danger of being held in bondage. And I expect it's with the new technology that it free, like we said, with new inventions 200 odd years ago, it was freedom, and yet it brought massive problems. So we've really got a warning with this about not to be tied or chained, kept in bondage and enslavement. Final card we've got, I know it's not the 9 of Cups, but it's the 9 of Cups. 9 of Cups is sometimes called the slave trader or the smug merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a picture of a man with a red hat, arms folded smugly across his chest, and behind him he's got the 9 cups. It's not a 10, but it's emotional satisfaction. But it makes me wonder, if what will develop is a bit more of a split between those who have emotional satisfaction and those who are enslaved. It will be through work. It's through the world of work. Next, in this reading, we've got the Queen of Pentacles, and underneath her, the Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands is defensive. It needs a boundary. It's battle weary. Above it, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. So she's really, to me, about that stability, about finding community amongst your own kind, about keeping things simple, but also changing our view of what we thought was security, what was homeland, what was borders. That's also changing, and the world of work is moving that through. And this, I think, is defending borders. So I'm expecting this is a bit about what is your homeland? What do you call homeland? And what are you left defending? I'm sure more will come up with that. After we've got our 10 of Wands preceding the 9. So I'm jumping all over the place here, but the Fool above it, again, is this idea of expansion, but carrying too much and then becoming burdened by it. So I feel there's a real theme here of breaking free, wanting independence, wanting that revolution, but then the aftermath, being really crunchy, trying to sort it out. Yeah, this line I'll just... Yeah, go on.
Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for.
Yes. Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
The couple of cards here we haven't gone over, just the I can never remember that one, 7 of Wands. So again, it's this fighting for freedom, getting on top of things, getting strategic, overcoming the obstacles. And here, to me, these are often the voices of dissent, and you can't see where they're coming from. So we've had a lot of those voices of dissent come up with Pluto in Capricorn. There's been real division about what is authority, what is government, those sorts of things. And I think this is us getting a clearer picture. And even this, of what's been exposed and how we want to get on top. It's a bit revolutionary to me, this card in this reading. Underneath, we've got the lovely Page of Cups. Even though industry and work and the nature of work and what we call work is changing, it definitely opens up new possibilities. Don't think that this is the end. We're not ending on the end here. We're ending on reaching satisfaction with what you have, seeing the beauty that you can find in this cup, even though the daily grind of work is changing. Yeah.
I think it's interesting with that, the middle card and the 9 of Cups, and the Knight of Cups is, I also get like mass production. What are we going to offer you? And then the 7 of Wands is kind of a few taking the moral high ground.
And actually, as you're saying that, this is making me think of AI. That what's in the cup? What are we drinking?
Yeah, what are we drinking the Kool-Aid on, right?
Yeah. And underneath we got the 9 cups build. So there is this sense of something that does build is the emotional content, the creativity, even fertility, advances in fertility. And I'm thinking, but this is also part of what you were talking about, medical innovation.
And I think, like, when I look at the other cards I've got here, like we've got the Hermit, which is about research, investigation. We keep that, if we look at that medical side of it. And I think from a point of view of that medical side, which would include fertility or infertility, trying to solve some of those issues for people, is the Hermit really does provide us with insight. The Hermit always looks into the darker corners and finds that light so that you can solve a problem, and you must go through the hermit process before you can solve a problem, because then after that I've got the Ace of Wands, so there's lots of opportunities that comes from the research, definitely. Then with it comes change, and we've got the Death card, but for this the purpose is really change, and sometimes we don't know what we're doing, how much change that will bring us, and can we accept every opportunity of change that comes to us. And if I throw out my last three, we've got the Queen of Pentacles, where I had the Knight of Pentacles. So yet again, even though the Pentacles with the Knight is around the money and the investment, this is also around, well, how does this help us? It has to help us to really have a proper return on investment for the money that we're putting into it. And then some of that is taxpayers' money as well, obviously. And then we have the Justice card. So does it balance out? Is it righteous? Is there justice in what we're doing? Is it right for everyone, or are we kind of screwing over the few so that some of us get what we want? And then the Three of Wands. And we've got then communication, and I think we're going to end up with a mass comms, marketing. We're going to see a whole new different way of how they're going to sell to us. And so how do we take that in? So that's going to be very different. So, yeah, I think as far as the technology, the research, investment in that, it's going to take on a whole new bent.
I like that Ace of Wands there too. And with your insight into medical, that's making me think of light therapy, using frequency, different forms of energy. And that feels really hopeful, actually. So we've just had a bit of a Zoom breakdown, and we're back on. And now we're ready to do the second question, which is Pluto and Aquarius. Where do we need to be concerned? So I'll put this down.
So the big ticket items.
It's over 20 years. A lot can go on.
Yeah. Oh. Wow.
What have you got?
Well, I think there's going to be, particularly once we get into the 2030s, I think there's going to be some heat. But we'll start with, I'm kind of looking at mine in the decades of Pluto and Aquarius, but I've got the Knight of Wands, and so I think there's going to be, that passion. I think there's going to be a lot of passion for a lot of different things that might not necessarily be exactly what we want. And I think there's going to be lots of do it quick, get in there quick. There's not going to be a lot of time for, let's just sit back and think whether we should do it. So I think there's going to be certain parties who have their own concerns, their own reasons for doing things. They're going to really push things quickly. And money is definitely going to be the reason for it. That greed factor, I think, is still around. But as per the Pluto, I think they're going to try and kind of play that into the background a lot. And the Page of Wands here, which is in the spellcaster deck, really loves being that one to announce things as well, and to talk about things. So yet again, that's comms, that's marketing. I think we're going to have to be really good at not just accepting things at face value, not just saying, because they've got that spokesperson up front talking about it, that's going to be great because I like them. But if you are someone that wants to think, well, why would you say that? Where's the money? Who's investing in that? Why is that being pushed to me? I think you'll have to do a lot of investigation as to why something is good, and what's being told to you. And I think that's pretty much going to see out the rest of this decade until, that first third of Pluto and Aquarius. Which might also cover when it ducks back into Capricorn, because there's the money aspect as well.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Ace of Swords. We've got the very argumentative Three of Swords, and then we've got the Three of Wands. So we've got 2 threes and an ace. So this is about truth, in particular with this one in the spellcaster. And with it is in the spellcaster deck, the swords have wolves on every card. And in the wolf speak, we want to hear the truth. It's about teaching us something. And so I think that the Ace of Swords here, it's going to be fiery truth. It's going to be, this is how it is, whether you like it or not. And some people are going to find that the things they've believed in have been absolute rubbish, and they're going to have to deal with the fact they've been wrong about things for quite a long time. The Three of Swords, well, that's where we're going to get into arguments. And I would also suggest with the swords, they may be ideological, not just the physical, but real ideological arguments. And then it leads to new messaging. Yet again, the Three of Wands has come up, which came up in the last one. And then as we come out closer to getting to the end of Pluto and Aquarius, we've got the Seven of Swords. So who is going, we're talking betrayal, we're talking who's going to run into your camp and try and, set you up for a fall. So I think that as we get to that end of Pluto, a lot of things are going to come out. They're going to come out of the depths. We're all going to find out who's really been for us and who's really been against us. So that could be an area of concern, that what that brings and brings out. The Six of Pentacles is nice, where it brings out the good Samaritans. The goodness comes out once that those betrayals and kind of wrong messaging has been brought out. And then we have the Lovers, and then everyone starts to partner up. So I actually see the end of Pluto and Aquarius really finally reaping the rewards of all this working things out and things coming out from the depths. And I think more the end of Pluto and Aquarius is going to be where things happen, but we're going to have to go through a bit of pain before we get there. And that's probably the area of concern.
The positive side of Pluto, of Aquarius, is humanitarian. We're all connected. We're stronger as a community. But the downside, the shadow of Aquarius, is cold, intellectual, analytical cutting off. No emotion. It comes down to number crunching. It comes down to, Aquarius is a fixed sign and it's coldly intellectual. So it can come down to one person's radical view that cuts the humanitarian aspect of Aquarius out. So that's what we'll be balancing. I love that you've got the Lovers at the end.
I know.
Quality, even though it's a shift and a juggle, it finds its place.
Yeah, that partnership. And that coldness is really the magician that I got in the previous,
Yes.
That is very the dark side.
Yeah, Aquarius can get quite culty because it looks for like-minded others, and it's often an intellectual or an ideological connection that can cut from the emotion. So it's not necessarily a manipulative sign, but it could be. It's very righteous. There's a lot of righteousness in Aquarian energy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so this is what I've got for areas of concern. Central card, we've got insecurity, Four of Pentacles. And I'd say this is things around, borders, our cost of living, our basic needs. This is a fearful card. So we've got to worry that we're living in lack instead of living in abundance. And now that I'm just getting a look at this, it's a bit like these cards here are about, instead of flourishing, it's like getting afraid and holding on to what you've got. Instead of sharing what you have, because there's always plenty, you insecurely close off and shut down. So this is Aquarius in its isolation mode. It's also, just as I'm looking at the central card, the city being in the background. Yeah, so there's some separation between city and rural maybe, or who, Aquarius decentralizes things. So, and also previously, sorry, Katrina, let you speak. The previous Pluto and Aquarius, the Industrial Revolution, that was the end of rural living in a way, because people had to leave their village and move to the city. So maybe we're seeing the opposite of that, people moving remotely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything with that?
No, I just think that's such an interesting central card, and that the grounding for everything is about money, economy. Yeah, do I have enough? I think that's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, the do I have enough? So that's our fear. The first card we've got is the moon, which is like we're stepping into the unknown. Our fears are brought up, where the dirty side will come up, and we're suspicious. This is a huge, big paradigm shift in our history. And also the moon is in cycles. So this is a long time uncovering, a long time getting down to the bottom here, which is the Emperor card, which is saying one of our area of concerns maybe is being too rigid, is falling back on old traditions, on finding our bottom line, because our bottom line is under threat until we look at new options. It's also, to me, a very patriarchal card, and I would like to see the patriarchy stepping back from its 5,000-year domination and becoming more equal. So this idea, and also old men running our world, this is an area of concern. Hopefully with Aquarius, we get a more youthful vibe going on with who's making the big decisions. Above our fear of lack, we've got loss, card of loss, the 5 of Cups. So where there is blood spilt. And right now I'm thinking with this card of expansion and planning next to it, it's a bit about the wars that we start Pluto and Aquarius with. It's about the amount of human blood that's been spilt. And that's about establishing new territory, new connections, new trade partners, new alliances. Underneath, I'll just rip through it a bit. One area of concern is having to leave behind things we love, and that echoes what Katrina's had with the Queen of Cups and the Magician, making a wise decision. And maybe it's this thing about leaving cities or leaving countries to move somewhere else. As I'm speaking, I'm also feeling this is immigration through war, or climate change, through refugees. Don't always see this as a refugee card, but I totally am today. It's under the moon. Final, and that slips into not sure what we do. How do we distribute? Can we afford to procrastinate? Because if we procrastinate, we'll be stuck in some rigid old way. So procrastination will be an issue. Investment, debt will be an issue. The World Bank will be an issue. The International Monetary Fund will be an issue. Where aid goes will be an issue. You know, Pluto and Aquarius, let's not live in lack. Let's feel that we're all connected. Final line here. So if I follow your lead and look at this as the last part of Pluto and Aquarius, we've got reward, we've got celebration, and then we've got the Emperor. So what's our area of concern? Leadership will change, new kings, new regimes, monarchies may end, there's celebration. This could be around self-determination. It could be around finding your own authority. Maybe this is the celebration of the end of old men and the patriarchy determining all our choices. But it's an area of concern. Like, we want to party hard. We want to change all our leaders. But in my first reading, it had a bit that revolution, and it's historical. When you have a people power revolution or an uprising, the new regime coming in can sometimes be more authoritarian than the one you were fighting. So this is an area of concern. If you think about the French revolutions, last time Pluto was in Aquarius, they were middle class uprisings. And it was like cost of living, it was corruption at the top. So that popular uprising, that people power uprising that came from the middle classes, actually they had to do it 3 times over, because the new ones coming in were kind of as authoritarian and as rigid as the ones we were trying to get freedom from. So that is an area of concern.
Yeah, because I think that card, the 7 of Wands, where it talks, that card could easily be seen as the card of democracy.
Yeah.
And the celebration of, yeah, we've got it, and then in comes the emperor again.
Yeah.
So that's the concern. If that emperor had been, more a feminine card, or
yes, I agree.
It would have, yeah.
And also it corners with the moon. We don't really know what we're working here. There is still human shadow. We've got behind us, and the moon links up with this, what I'm reading today is refugee mass migration, leaving your homeland. Yeah. And I'm thinking this final one is careful what you wish for.
That 8 of Cups, I always think it's interesting when that comes up when we're talking about time and when things will happen, because I always see that as an eclipse card. I'd be looking at where the eclipses are falling, what they're under, and because with revolutions came mass migration, but it tended to open up new frontiers, like the Irish went to America and France became a totally different place, as did Europe.
Yeah, so this is historically accurate. I love tarot. Yeah, historically accurate.
So do I.
Katrina, do you want to have a look at, get your maps, pendulum out? This is going to be really interesting. I'm excited about this.
All right, so I did a little bit of a prep beforehand. So I've tuned in the pendulum. I've got a moss agate here, so that we know that clockwise is the more positive, and counterclockwise is where we're looking at a more negative aspect or a concerning aspect. And I'm not sure which map. Do we want to go with that map for America? We're going to look at America. We're going to look at China. And there's a couple of other countries that came up prior. So I might use this one just because this is got by state. So this is for America. So what we're looking at is, what are we seeing for America in general? And then there's a couple of states we might look at, I think will come up. So we're looking to see in general for Pluto and Aquarius can, affect what America's effect will be. So this is going in an area of concern. And at the moment, it's really hovering at the moment over Texas, which did come up before. So I'm going to move it over just to more over the Washington way, the East Coast, just to see whether it changes. And it's going side to side at the moment, but it's starting to go more in the positive. So I think the thing for America is, I don't think there's going to be, in general, one overall feeling for it. Because it is the United States of America, it's going to split a bit. So this is now going more positive. And the circle is getting quite big. So for me, what that says is around from the political heart of the country, that the politics are going to go in a direction that's more positive. It's going to be more open. But when I look at Texas, and every time I've looked at Texas, it always goes counter. So there's some things around Texas, particularly in the next, I'm feeling 12 to 15 months, that things are going to go from a negative, it's going to go backwards. It's going to go back to where it currently stands at the moment. Now, I don't know whether that's to do with some of the border stuff going on at the moment with Texas versus the federal government, but I think Texas is a hotspot in particular.
So I've just drawn on that, and I've got the Magician card. So there is potentially spin doctoring, there's manipulation, and I'm thinking this is a bit around the legal stuff. Roe versus Wade, or I don't know, but the Magician card on that says, if you want to change that dynamic, you have to start acting on where your beliefs are. If you feel the politics is moving too far one way or the other, it's up to you to work and act and create a different reality.
let's see over the West Coast, just as a change. Let's see what it does. Hopefully you can still see it. I get the same feeling, and this is just a conversation that Meryl and I had had another time, where I was looking at another country, and I get the same feeling with California, because I'm over California at the moment. I feel a shake.
What do you mean?
I feel when I go over California, I feel a shake. So to me, it means like an earthquake or something like that. Some environmental event that has a problem in California. That's the feeling I get with California.
Mm. Do you get an idea if that's in the first, middle, last part?
I got the eight of cups.
Okay.
So maybe an eclipse, maybe that's what we're. Yeah. But I would go around either the month that's the 8th month, or within 8 years there'll be.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go just up the north and get away from Texas, it's really quite.
It's really pulling.
Yeah.
Pulling like.
Yeah, and it's doing that stiff, that.
Yeah, like I can feel it. I can see it. It's like really magnetized to that spot.
Yeah.
What is that spot? Is that like Illinois or something? What is it?
That's over like South Dakota. Yeah, pretty much over South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
And if I move towards like Kansas, where was it was Colorado where we had the ballot challenges, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yet again, that's magnetized again.
Mm.
Totally different feel in that area of the country. And Florida, it's doing it again, where it feels like there's a real pull.
Yeah.
So I think that there's going to be that to me means changes. I think there's politics involved. I can't see environmental, but I see politics involved and what people want. It's the people movement that's going to change states. The other things that mean that for me when I do that is the Constitution, because the Constitution was developed after the War of Independence, and I think it's going to become a much bigger conversation, as it already is, but I think it's going to become bigger. Yeah. Much more reliant that they're going to go back to their Constitution as their value statement. I think for America, we've got. I'm feeling there's some environmental stuff in weather stuff in California. I'm feeling shaking there. Texas, I see real changes in Texas, but it's near like there's a little bit of a battle. They're not going to let go easily in Texas, but the people eventually move it on. And I see politically, when I move to the political heart of America, that it's becoming more and more, it's more open, it's becoming more positive, and the strength grows. It actually grows and grows. So it's going to be becoming more and more open, and I think more democratic, not closing up and being protectionist like the card 4 of Pentacles. Right. So I just want to go back to Mexico because I did a pendulum and I got a real reaction to Mexico. All right. I still get this feeling, and it's going backwards, yeah. I really have a feeling of big earthquake in Mexico. And it's like whenever I'm near Mexico on the map, I get a shuddering in myself.
Yeah, I just felt that shudder. Yeah. It kind of, yeah.
You get this terrible feeling, and now it's going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're about to shut off, but Mexico, I think that's something to watch for. And I think that's I'm getting 8 to 12. So either the 8th month, the 12th month in that part of the year or in years, timeframes. Okay. So let's have a look at the Middle East. Here, we'll do this one. This is better. Where we want to have a look at that, obviously Israel, Palestine, and have a look at general Middle East countries. So first of all, we'll have a look at Israel and Palestine. It kind of starts off with a shaking, and it's just going side to side. Not going, yeah. So I think that means status quo. I think things are staying the way they are. And that's quite a big swing side to side without going into any kind of
So that feels unresolved.
Definitely is, yeah.
Okay. I've just drawn Queen of Cups, Bull, and the Sun.
Okay.
Okay, so just what that makes me think of, this is the independence and breaking free. Yeah, I wonder if, eventually it looks like a new Palestinian state to me with these cards. But
it always worries me with the Queen of Cups when it comes to questions like this, because there's something still in the cup.
Yeah.
There's still something that hasn't come out that needs to be looked at. It's like she's sitting there just waiting for the top to come off.
Maybe this is these are good cards.
Well, they're good. Yeah, they're good cards.
Yeah, they're good cards. And again, we've got our story, which will be the question for the next 20 years. What is freedom? What is reckless? What is terrorism? If it's a freedom fighter. Yeah. Yeah, that's the question. All right. What else have you got?
I might just have a look at Yemen, where we've got the Houthis and the trouble with trade and trade routes. That kind of goes side to side. Then, now it's starting to go negative. And now it's going up and down again. Like it's
back and forth.
Yeah. It started going side to side, then it went I've never had it in the last couple of goes where it's gone north to south.
I'll just draw some cards on that.
It draws some cards, Mel, because that's going in the weirdest directions.
I've got 10 of Swords.
Yeah.
And now
9 of Cups. Yes, the 9.
Perfect.
That's but I think that 10 of Swords, that just shows they're going to have to kill that off. It's going to end like that.
And mediation or investigation, negotiation.
Yeah. And this is the card of the merchant trade. I don't think it's going to be nicely solved, that solution.
No, it's almost, this one makes me feel like it's I can't think of the word, when some agency steps in and take like a peacekeeping force or an occupying army. That's what it makes me think of, that there's someone stepping in to, it's not allowing freedom or flourishment, but someone has to step in and guard and mind, custodian sort of thing of the area is what I'm.
Yeah.
Is that?
Because it's obvious that the Yemen government doesn't have full control of the country.
No.
It'd just be if it was Saudi that did it.
Yeah. I actually feel like this is civil war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that could be right. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at Iran. That just gets this shaking thing again. And it's going side by side. I haven't had a good feeling about Iran for a while. And I feel that particularly in the next couple of years, there's going to be another big uprising, going to see a lot of social, that moralistic issues coming up about how people are treated but also Iran itself as how its practices and how it expands outside of its own borders. There's going to be big problems with that. It's going to see a lot of trouble. Be interesting to see what cards you get for that.
Yeah, one just fell on the ground. It was the bound card, tied and bound.
Oh.
So that feels that.
Well, that's what they're doing at the moment. That's currently what they're doing.
Yeah. I wondered about all right, I'll draw some cards here for Iran. Well, I've got expansionism, trudging on, defense, and action, kind of war. So borders, defending, this is the tradition.
Yeah.
Restricting, and this is either a clampdown or an uprising, is to me. If we're looking big picture, this is very defensive. The way they sell and trade arms.
Well, also too, like part of their modus operandi is to fund and or train and or direct external
and mercenaries.
Mercenaries. But yeah, there's definite rumblings. I think as they're trying to do things that go outside of their borders, I think there's going to be rumblings inside Iran that's going to actually help destabilize. I think the people of Iran are going to sort out their own problems.
Yeah.
Ideology.
Yeah.
I did have a look at China before and Taiwan. So I'd be interested to see what cards you get out on it. And what I had for China it was a sweeping negative on the mainland, and in Taiwan it was a sweeping positive. And cards that I got indicated, the feeling I got was a potential change of leadership in the next few years in China. That was the feeling I got.
Wow.
And then the Justice cards.
All right. So we just look at how Pluto in Aquarius deals with China and how it meets the challenge of whatever Pluto in Aquarius is transforming. I've got the sneaking around card, 7 of swords, which in Chinese, this is like face saving as well.
Yeah.
Like and just one of the techniques is you just remove your opposition from your circle. You just eliminate, you move. Loss. 2 left remaining. And my with China is to keep the 2 countries, 1 policy, rather than that's we got to know how to keep two. Well, Hong Kong's on, but here's the threat, the Knight of Wands. So any expansionism is kind of folly. There's some reason that any expansionism won't quite see it through. It also makes me think this is people power and the way they use technology. Like really, this is a TikTok card owned by China. But it does feel like any expansionism does not come to a good end for them. Yeah. They have to stay place and it's kind of folly. There's some folly if they pursue it. Hot topics. I'm actually just going to draw 1 card. I'll draw 1 card and we'll say what is, or maybe I'll draw 3 cards. 3 cards. What is a hot topic?
Well,
leave what we can. What have you got?
Well, this just jumped out. So the 9 of Wands. There's a massive protectionism happening, defending oneself. And then the lovely 7 of Pentacles and then the 10 of Cups. I see this as, people trying to justify themselves and defend themselves, but then the people decide to go in the other direction to what these people want. And then you have the democracy stands, the Constitution stands. I see that as a positive outcome for the Democrats in a political sense, but also anything that comes up in the Supreme Court, the people, what the people need will stand.
I've got Knight of Wands, So growing out of a difficult place, finding the hope, refocusing. And for me, this is also energy. So like solar power. So it could be about change with that. It's about the way the message is delivered. It's about where do you find truth, because it's just been battered. Next card, Two of Wands. Maybe this in some way is a way identity theft and social media and holding your identity close. And the final card, so, and as hot topics, what's a hot topic? It's communications, trade, energy efficiency. I also use this as drones and surveillance.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting. But I also get, like you got final card, best card. I got the Star. Now, if we're looking at Roe versus Wade, to me, this is ownership of your body, my choice. In tarot, the Star is the highest spiritual outcome. It's the healthy reconciling and blending of opposites. It's around finding nourishment and health and healing and recuperation for all. But ultimately, by the close of this 20-year cycle, there's this is woke. This is unashamedly woke. Let's go woke. What's wrong with being woke?
Yeah. And it's also got I like about the Star is not only are they grounded, they've also got healthy emotions that they deal with and not afraid to dip into as well. And I think that with the Page of Wands there and the Two of Wands, what's nice about that is I think that America's starting to realize that, everyone has their good and bad, just like America is good and bad as well. So
that's so interesting, because I'm thinking of that, America, the myth of America, the archetype of America, the morality issue of good versus evil. Maybe this whole morality of good versus evil is blending and reconciling.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm just looking back to what we first got, which is the first card I got overall, and that fear and holding back, holding on, shutting down, isolating, lack. And the outcome I've got with this one is the opposite of this card: open, flowing, free, hopeful, compassionate.
Yeah.
I've
loved it, Meryl.
Great to see you, and great to be part of your work too. Thank you, Katrina. Remember, once again, where can people find you?
Oh, yes, it is. Facebook is Energy Tarot, and on email, it's crystalenergytarot@gmail.com.
Thanks everyone. If you stayed this long, consider a like, share, follow, subscribe, comment. Give us your questions. Give us your insights. If you want to see more of this or less of this or whatever, let us know. It's been fun.